I spent my birthday alone, eating cold takeout at a kitchen table that suddenly felt too vast. The candles flickered against the silence and every empty chair seemed to mock me. My phone buzzed twice, once from my wife, once from my brother. Both messages were excuses, flimsy and hurried. I knew then they weren't busy. They were together. For most of my life I had defended my brother. Reckless, selfish, always chasing shortcuts while I built stability brick by brick. My parents excused him. My wife indulged him. And I protected him even when it cost me. I had thought marriage would anchor me, create something separate from the endless shadow of being the responsible one. For a while it did. My wife was attentive, warm, present, or so I believed. Looking back, the signs were there. Her laughter when he visited lingered longer than it should have. Their inside jokes multiplied. And sometimes when I spoke, I caught their eyes meeting, silent currents I wasn't meant to see. Still, I ignored it. Family is supposed to be unshakable. Love is supposed to be safe. The truth revealed itself not in words but in absence. That night, on my birthday, while I sat alone with lukewarm noodles, they were across town at a restaurant. A celebration, my brother's engagement dinner, the one she had forgotten to mention. The family who forgot I existed. Scrolling through social media later, the pictures confirmed everything. My parents, my cousins, my wife, all smiling under golden lights while I chewed through silence. There she was, my wife, standing beside my brother, her hand resting far too close to his. The comments beneath gutted me. You two make the perfect pair. It wasn't just a celebration of him. It was a rehearsal for erasing me. Grief is messy. Rage is loud. But betrayal, real betrayal, cuts sharper, colder. That night, I didn't break anything. I didn't scream. I sat still and let the silence carve me into steel. They assumed I'd always carry them, always forgive, always say yes. That was their mistake. The next morning, she slid beside me at breakfast, kissed my cheek, and spoke as though the night before never existed. Then casually she said, "Your brother will need help planning the wedding. Can you handle some of the finances?" I stared at her, memorizing every detail, the way she buttered her toast, the steadiness of her voice, the way she had already chosen a future without me but expected me to fund it. That was the moment I decided not to fight, not to argue, but to vanish in a way they'd never forget. I started quietly. First, the bank accounts. I moved what was mine into places they couldn't trace. The joint account I left intact, padded enough to make them comfortable, until they realized I had severed my name from every string that bound us. Second, the house. The deed was in my name. She never noticed the documents I signed, transferring it to a buyer I'd lined up months earlier. A couple eager to move in fast, closing on the day of my choosing. Third, the evidence. I didn't need pictures or hotel receipts. I had something stronger, the complete absence of their loyalty, documented in silence and subtle proof, enough to make lawyers salivate and judges tilt their heads. Finally, my exit. A one-way flight to a city with no ties, no memories, no family photos to trip over. I packed a single suitcase. Everything else I left behind, a monument to their greed. The stage was set. The perfect moment arrived 2 weeks later, at Sunday lunch at my parents' house. Everyone was there. My brother smug and glowing, my wife pretending to still belong to me, my parents draped in oblivion. Between bites of roasted lamb, the conversation shifted to the wedding. My brother cleared his throat, leaned forward, and asked if I'd be his best man. The irony nearly made me laugh. I set down my fork, wiped my mouth and said calmly, "No." The silence that followed was delicious. My wife blinked, confused. My parents frowned. My brother smirked, thinking I was joking. Then I slid an envelope across the table. Inside, copies of the house sale, the bank transfers, my flight confirmation. "I won't be your best man," I said, voice steady, "but I'll be remembered." The eruption was immediate. My mother gasped. My father barked my name. My brother demanded explanations he already knew. My wife begged at the table, the word please catching in her throat like a broken record. I leaned back and let it wash over me, their chaos, their desperation, the realization that the safety net they assumed I'd always provide was gone. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't explain myself. I let them see the truth. I was no longer theirs to use, ignore, or erase. When I stood, the room fell silent again. I lifted my suitcase, waiting by the door, and walked out. No goodbyes. No second chances. The airport was crowded, buzzing with lives that had nothing to do with mine. I sat at the gate, watching planes rise into the sky, and for the first time in years I felt weightless. I thought about the birthday dinner I'd eaten alone, the empty chairs, the cold food, and realized that night had been a gift. A clean cut showing me exactly where I stood. They celebrated him. They erased me. But I left them with something heavier than absence. The knowledge that they'd never find me, never lean on me, never own me again. As the boarding call echoed, I smiled. Not because I was free, but because they were trapped in their lies, their guilt, their hollow victories. I walked onto the plane, calm, steady, untouchable. And as the wheels lifted off the ground, I whispered the only farewell they deserved. Happy wedding.